Facebook is now under serious scrutiny amid a data harvesting scandal involving a firm hired by the 2016 Trump campaign. Now, the New York Times reports the firm Cambridge Analytica used personal data from 50 million Facebook users without approval. The Massachusetts Attorney General is now opening an investigation into Facebook and Cambridge Analytica about this. Facebook suspended the company Friday, saying it violated its policies, and now the social network is launching an internal investigation. Cambridge Analytica denies any wrongdoing. It was hired as part of the Trump campaign's data operation in 2016. So let's talk it over with CNN's senior media correspondent, Brian Stelter, and host of Reliable Sources. Brian, help us understand what type of private information Cambridge Analytica eventually pulled away.
All of the data that you share with your friends on Facebook. So if you were one of the 50 million people that was involved in this particular situation, all the data you share with your own friends, meaning your location, your pictures, your interests, the pages you like, it's actually a good opportunity to go onto Facebook.com, go up to the right corner of the screen, go to the privacy checkup page. You can actually see what you're sharing with your friends, with your family, with strangers. I was actually surprised by how much I am sharing. It's worth doing that checkup from time to time, especially when there's a scandal like this in the news. But in this case, you know, it was 270,000 Facebook users that signed up, that consented to be a part of this professor's study, this research project. From there, he was able to get to 50 million people by reaching out to their friends. And that is the data set that was apparently transferred over to Cambridge Analytica and may be used in the Trump campaign. Now, Cambridge Analytica has denied that the data set was used, but a whistleblower who's come forward, Christopher Wiley, speaking to the New York Times and the Observer in the UK, says obviously this data set was included.
And what more are we learning from this whistleblower?
Well, he shared a television interview that is really remarkable. Here's a part of what he said about the bigger picture here involving the Trump campaign.
Steve wanted weapons for his culture war. That's what he wanted. And we offered him a way to accomplish what he wanted to do, which was change the culture of America.
You know, talking about Steve Bannon there, who worked with Cambridge Analytica, who was on the board before joining the Trump campaign. That's one of the connections here between this data mining firm that tries to profile voters and then over to the Trump campaign. But the reality is, Anna, every political campaign tries to engage in these sorts of practices. They want to know as much about voters as they can. The issue in this case is that Facebook says Cambridge Analytica improperly collected and obtained the data. That's why it says it's punishing Cambridge now. You know, you have to wonder if the fact that this was becoming public is partly what caused Facebook to take action. You know, it wasn't until the New York Times came calling that the company suspended Cambridge Analytica over the weekend. And now in a new statement today, Facebook says it's doing both an internal and an external review to figure out exactly what happened here, what went wrong here. As always, you know, we see these giant tech companies trying to do cleanup after seeing a mess made on their property.
It's reactive versus proactive, which is the issue. It doesn't seem like this is the end of the story just yet. Brian Stelter, thank you so much.
Thanks.
As always, Brian's show, Reliable Sources, every Sunday at 11 a.m.
Thanks for the plug.
Coming up, it was an election that was long and a spectacle. It's short on suspense. Vladimir Putin cruises to victory in Russia's election. How his power surge could affect relations with the U.S.
We now know that the person at the center of the Facebook data leak scandal is a Liberal Party operative. Not only did Christopher Wiley work for two different Liberal Party leaders in opposition, but according to media reports this morning, he also worked on a project for this Prime Minister in the taxpayer-funded Liberal Caucus Research Office. Can the Prime Minister confirm that he hired Christopher Wiley and explain exactly what role he had in the Liberal government?
Honourable President of the Treasury Board. Mr. Speaker, we all have a responsibility to protect the personal information of Canadians. The Liberal Research Bureau has actually already addressed this issue with a statement earlier today. All major political parties engage in data-driven activities. In fact, the Conservatives did when engaging in a $100,000 contract with Agility PR Solutions. I would draw members' attention to the statement issued earlier today that, in fact, preliminary work done by Unoa Technologies was offered to the Liberal Caucus Research Bureau, but what...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't understand why the Prime Minister can't answer these questions. Protecting the personal and privacy information of Canadians should be a top priority for government. Yet this Prime Minister has failed to be honest with Canadians about the Liberal Party's relationship with an individual who has exploited the private information of millions of people around the world. Now, we know that he has had a long history of working with the Liberal Party and worked for this Prime Minister. Can the Prime Minister confirm whether or not he has disclosed this information to the Privacy Commissioner?
Mr. Speaker, again, I would draw the honourable member's attention to the statement issued by the LRB earlier today that said quite clearly that preliminary work was done by Unoya Technologies, but after seeing what was offered, Liberal Caucus Research Bureau decided not to move forward. At no point did Unoya Technologies have access to any data from Liberal Caucus Research Bureau.